Check. Hey, hey, T, T. Check. Hey, hey, T. T, one check. Hey, hey, test. Check, check. Check, testy. Hey, check one. Check, check, one, one. Check, check. Check, one. Check, testy. Hey, hey, hey. Check. Check, testy. Hey, hey, one. One, two. Check, one, one, two, one. Check, check. ह्याचा जरा आवाज जास्त आहे. Check, check. One. Check, check. हे तो check. Sound. Check, one, one. Check, one, one, two. Check. Check, one, one, two. Check. Check, one, two.
May I request everyone to please take their seats quickly? We are going to start the next session in 2 minutes. Please take your seats. Thank you.
Check, check, testy. Check. Hey, hey, testy. Check. Check, one, two. Hey, hey, check. Check, test. Test, one, two. Check. Hey, hey. Check. Hey, 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 check. Check, testy. Hey, hey, one, two. Check. Hey, hey, check. Check. Hey, hey, test. Check. Hey, hey, T.
Welcome back, everyone. Please take your seats. Normally think is best practice. Good morning and welcome back to the third session on the third day of AED 2023. May I request everyone in the hall, please, to take your seats very quickly so we can begin the session. This session on revolutionizing the economy, integrating payment systems and digitizing currencies has been curated by the Asia Society India Center. The session chair is Dr. Naveen Kabra, CTO and co-founder ReliScore. In-person panelists include Ms. Tanvi Ratna, CEO, Policy 4.0, Mr. Dilip Asbe, Managing Director and CEO, National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, and Mr. Prabhat Kumar, Special Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Lito Villanueva, Executive Vice President and Chief Innovation and Inclusion Officer, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, Philippines, will join the panel online. May I please request the panelists and the chair to come up to the stage now? Thank you. Dr. Kabra, can I request you to please commence the proceedings? Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I am really looking forward to the session today because of the deep and varied experience of the panelists, right? We will be hearing about first-hand experiences with building multiple payment systems in Asia, overcoming insane obstacles, and then scaling them to a point where now Asia is a leader in this space. We will hear about the tension between innovation in this space and safety, right? And which makes it a tightrope walk for regulators because they're not sure what exactly they should be doing here. We will also hear about the tension between digitization and inclusion, and how to solve those problems. And we will hear about uh, the different kinds of payment systems and their pros and cons, from central bank digital currencies to cryptocurrencies, and how we can take the best of both worlds. And finally, we will also talk about how this plays into international relations, because this is increasingly becoming a cross-country issue, right? So I welcome all the panelists. What I am going to do is initially I've asked all the panelists to just talk about the topic for today, which is what exactly is the connection between payment systems, digitizing of currencies, and driving economic growth, right? What are the opportunities here? What is the connection? And what are the pitfalls that we need to be really careful about, right? Once all the panelists have talked about this, then uh, we will do a bunch of rounds of questions in the different areas that I talked about earlier. And along the way, I will also take audience questions, not necessarily all in the end. We can even do some in the middle. Okay. So So the topic of the day, I guess, let me just go from, let me start with Litom Villanueva. Am I pronouncing your name correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. I guess let's start with you. What do you see? What are your overall thoughts about the topic of today, and what's important for us to keep an eye on?
Thank you again much for having me. And although remotely, I could have would have wanted of the live session in India, but unfortunately, for other constraints, I just have to do virtually today. But anyway, so far as the topic for today's session concerned, I think this is very timely given the fact that we've been discussing about CBDC, central bank digital currency, and of course we have also seen or heard the recent pronouncement of as and this is something of importance or value to everyone who is in promoting inclusive digital finance in developments. No? I look forward to hearing and or best practices for this subject. Thank you.
Tanvi?
It's not working. Hello.
Yeah. Close it.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Kabra. I think I'll talk about this, the role of finance in two lenses. So my background is as a national security analyst and an engineer. So I have a fairly different way of looking at it. But I think if you think about the economy as a whole, if that is the engine, then finance is its fuel, right? And that means the whole financial stack of whether it's payments, it's credit, it's insurance, all of it is its fuel. And there are two lenses to it. So domestically, what you want are the most efficient systems, the most speedy systems, the most cost efficient systems. You want a lot of variety of instruments because that helps your economy grow fast. But when you think about it in an international lens, then what you want are asymmetric advantages, right? And I think the whole international game is a relative game. It's a game of having relative advantage, relative asymmetric advantages versus your competitors, right? So there, when you think about it in terms of cross-border systems, in terms of just what leverage you get over the whole financial stack across the world, then it's a very different lens of looking at it. And I think in our talk, I'll be happy to explore some of those dimensions.
Thank you. Prabhat Kumarji.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank Pune International Center for inviting me for this topic to speak on this topic. Actually, in the Ministry of External Affairs, we are working on it. But let me start with what I read recently. A tweet that has gone viral. A shopper in UK is saying that UPI has spoiled us. So because we cannot make the payments the way we make payments in India. So popular, the UPI has become so popular in the world. If we look at what used to happen earlier, when we were young, we used to, when in return of change money, we used to get some candy, or on the bus conductor on the back of the ticket will write how much money is left. So all these problems has been solved by UPI, and especially when the ATM only dispenses rupees 500 notes, UPI is sent from heaven. So it is in this context that we are working on, and since this topic was announced, and we have seen so many news items when I started looking at it. Of course, the latest was what we did with Singapore. when PM launched this exchange. But before that, of course, G20 launch, where the G20 countries, the tourists coming from there, will be able to load their UPI money in their wallets, and so many things is happening. So it's obvious that it is one area in which we have a lead. And just before we started, I was talking to CEO, Mr. Aspe, that, and we are already talking what we can do next. And MEA is also in looking at it. So probably in the next round, I can speak on what MEA can do and what we are looking at, and probably working with NPCI, how we can work on it and take it global. And like vaccine Matri, we can have UPI Matri or Bhim Matri or Chota Bhim Matri if the change is there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And what you said about the tweet is absolutely true. I can count so many of my friends who go to developed countries to visit, and there's a bit of a reverse culture shock that you can't use, there is no easy payment system like UPI, and you wish, oh my God, I hope these countries catch up with us one day. So it's a very different feeling for us. Sorry, Dilip.
So I think the digital payments offer two distinct benefits. The first benefit is it increases the speed or velocity of money. And that increase of speed and velocity of money gives a great advantage back to the economy, because the cash changing the hand has its own limitations. So many countries where the digital payments actually turnovers the GDP of the country multiple times. And I think that's the goal, what we are looking at. The second distinct benefit is the formalization of the economy, and it brings in the huge transparency, and you could look at these advantages we have received when the large amount of benefit transfers which were happening in cash, which is happening in digital now, directly to the account, weeding out the leakages using Aadhaar. It also kind of helps tax collection increase and those kind of things. The second part, I would like to say that while India may have done some work, there is a lot more to be done, right? I think when we look at UPI, and maybe I'll talk about it, I strongly believe that the 10x growth is possible from where we stand right now. So instead of singing the laurels, I think there is a lot of work to be done by all of us to penetrate the country, and so that every citizen is able to do the digital payments. And that's where we are looking at the immediate target as $1 billion a day. Last time when I came to this center, the $1 billion a day target was like 30 years away, sir. Now it is 3.5x away, right? So last time I spoke about it in the same center, and that time it was 35x away. But I think we have moved up. And the last but not the least, as sir said, for India, when we are going to grow next 25 years with 7% and going to be the second largest economy in next 25 years, I think the country can't only dream about being self-sufficient on the domestic payments. With our top 30 trade remittance partners, we need to be sufficient on cross-border payments as well. And that's where MEA and RBI is kind of reaching out to the different central banks, countries. Our missions are helping out. And I think next 10 years, the objective is to be self-sufficient on the domestic, the cross-border payments as well. So I think these are my initial thoughts on, and maybe we'll speak more.
Thanks. So let me dig a little bit into what you said. I mean, the increase in velocity of payments is obvious, the impact on GDP, but let's talk a little about the formalization of the economy, right? That brings in a whole bunch of people who were sort of below the radar, and now they're above the radar. So what are the benefits to them, especially in terms of, say, credit, which is enabled by these systems. So this is a question for you, Dilip, and then later even for Lito, because similar things are happening in Philippines.
So I'll keep it short. And today, the payment system has now approximately 50 million merchants. It helps them to create the digital records on inward payments, and today the credit can be given only to the individual when he is able to prove to the financial institution that he has some income, right? And earlier, because of the cash-based economy, the small street vendors, nobody could prove that they have an income. The digital records, I think it enables a flow-based lending. And actually, when you look at the credit, I think that's going to be the next 10 years focus of India. India, everybody knows that when you look at the credit penetration of US, China, right, the almost like a developed economies, which is like 5x of what it is in India. And actually the discretionary spends happens on credit. So I think if you want to grow the economy, I think we'll have to grow the formal credit in a big way, and in such a way that even the last mile gets the benefit of that credit, right? And I think the digital payments is going to help to prove the small lenders, the MSME sector, that the digital income, the flow-based lending is possible now.
Thanks, Dilip. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Lito had to leave because of a poor connection. So we will just continue with the three of us. I think the other thing which you said, that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, right? So credit is one thing. What else is it that we are looking at?
So when we look at, billion a day, right? That's our target, which we published about 3.5 years back. I think there is still a lot many things to be done for this to reach 2 billion a day. Couple of initiatives which we have launched. One is the UPI Lite, right? Today for a small ticket transaction, going back and spending the entire supply chains, IT resources may not be efficient way to deal with it, right? Because when you look at a transaction processing cost of financial transaction, even if we talk about 50 to 70 paisa, that's still fairly large when a small ticket transaction comes in. So I believe that the UPI Lite will bring this cost to 1/4, right? And also if the average transaction takes about 5 seconds, 6 seconds, we are looking at UPI Lite can happen in 2 seconds, which is kind of competing the speed of cash, right? That's what we are looking at. So one of the initiative is UPI Lite. Second initiative we have launched is 123 Pay. We have still about 400 million people using the feature phones. So how this voice-based payments or conversational payments in multilingual facility can help us to reach out and get inclusion done for this 400 million people who are not able to use the payment system so efficiently. And the last but not the least, we strongly believe that the mandate or the what we call auto pay in our language has a huge potential, and that's the first step of becoming a programmable money, right? As what we talk about. I think this daily needs the daily subscription, because when more and more businesses are moving to the subscription-based story, right? The SaaS or the OTT, there are quite a few examples. I think the service-based businesses, the collection becomes a very important thing, and autopay drives that very seamlessly. So I think these are the 3-4 things we are working on to reach to 1 billion a day as a target.
Thank you. That sounds both very exciting and very challenging. Coming next to what you said earlier, which is looking outward, right? Looking with our top 30 trade partners, what are the opportunities we see there, especially given our current position? So question for you.
Yeah. Actually, if you see our vaccine Mat3, we started producing vaccine and immediately we started sharing it with others. So this is the trajectory which has been appreciated. We recently had the Voice of Global South Summit, in which 125 countries participated, and each one of them appreciated the India's gesture of sharing vaccine with them. So similarly, UPI is another thing that we have a lead and we can share. So that is how we want to pitch. And is in the MEA, we have some ways of doing it if some funding is required. So far, we have been financing, infrastructure, physical infrastructure of